So, first, want to thank you for joining us on the Yuse Mercari show here on Turner.
Absolutely.
And for those who don't know, please, why don't you give us a brief overview of who you are and what you've been up to?
Absolutely. Well, first off, Yuse, thanks for having me. Tons of respect and appreciate you letting me on. My name is Anye Turner. I work for a small but growing company, and I do a lot of responsibilities at being a small company. But one of the most pertinent and some of the things that take the most of my time is working with our ambassador program and marketing as well.
Gotcha. And what product or service do you guys offer your company?
Yeah, so the company's called the Genius brand, and we have we're like a lifestyle supplement company as well as workout supplements. So we offer a lot of different products to our customers and try to provide high quality products that are clean and very effective based off of scientific doses. So great products, and now we just have to make sure that we market them well and get them out to people.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned working with brand ambassadors. How does working with brand ambassadors benefit your marketing success? What have you found to work in using other people's platforms and collaborating with other people to bring attention and to bring customers to your company?
Yeah, I think brand ambassadors have been valuables in different ways. You know, we haven't had those killer ambassadors that are selling tons of product and just bringing in a lot of money for us. But I think that having a group that is supportive of you can go a long way. And so our brand ambassadors do a great job of promoting us on social media regardless of how many followers they have. And if we're having like a promotion or something and having everyone post at the same time, I think really helps sales velocity and just brand recognition. Really, the more people that know, especially as a small company, know about your product, the better it is for you, really. And as you grow, trying to find the right people to market it and getting it out to more and more people. But I think to start, it was great for us to have a lot of people on our side.
Beautiful. So have you noticed anything that certain ambassadors have done, either whether in sharing certain their content in a certain way that has like brought a little bit maybe more attention, more results, anything that's kind of stood out from the crowd of ambassadors and such that you observed?
Yeah, I think that definitely when you have a bigger following, I think whatever you do, you have a better chance at attracting more attention in whatever way, whether it be sales or just clicks or shares or whatever it be. Definitely a bigger following, the better chance you have. But I think like if we're talking a similar group, I think being organic in your personality and who you are and bringing a certain authenticity to the people that you know and love helps us more rather than if I were to say this, you know what I'm saying, to the people. So I think that organic, and you know, another thing that was, and this could be just because they had a bigger following within that is podcasts. I feel like we had a couple ambassadors who do podcasts, and through those podcasts, like maybe, I don't know all the reasonings behind it, but it seemed to have a good influence and get a lot of clicks at least and bring people to the brand, which, you know, helps us out a ton.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder because, you know, platforms like, you know, Instagram, Facebook, although they can be useful, it is somewhat passive content because most people are just kind of, you know, going and not giving too much attention to any particular post.
Right.
Do you feel like maybe the podcast, because someone has to be more invested in that content and a little bit more engaged because it's more long form oftentimes, do you think that may play into why, you know, people are more responsive from that form of content versus, you know, just a quick flash of post on Instagram and stuff?
Right, yeah, I think that and I do love social media and we use it a lot, and I think everybody should, but there's a lot that you're battling with, so to have that maybe more intimate and informative version of an advertisement, I think is, you know,
you can add
elaborate and just maybe more engagement. They came to hear what you think. So you saying that rather than just coming to be entertained or coming to be whatever you use a social media platform, for, just coming directly to hear what you have to say helps. So, whatever message.
So let's tap on that. Podcasts. This is a relatively newish phenomenon in regards to people being able to consume these, relatively philosophical conversations at times, and to be able to, passively learn through these different mediums of intellectual conversation. How do you feel podcast is, affecting the world, and even yourself? How has podcast, how have they been of value to yourself, and what do you think? What kind of effect do you think podcasts are having on the world?
Yeah, I think it just helps. It helps the user get a long description of what they're interested in. Get a more in-depth description of what they're interested in, and can have these more personal conversations about whatever topic it is that you find fascinating, and having that ability, I think it's gained popularity for a reason.
Definitely.
And even like for the politicians, like, I saw Bernie on Joe Rogan's the other day, and it's like being able to really hear what he has to think and go for a long time. In a way that I can still play games on my phone, or I can still cook, or I can still go for a walk, listening to the podcast. It doesn't take all of my senses, but I still am engaged while being able to do other things. As a lot of us like to just scroll while something else is going on. Like, that's a nice thing to be scrolling to.
Absolutely.
Perhaps, yeah.
And do you think seeing the visual component, adds a lot? Because we have the audio podcast, where you're only just hearing and not seeing, and then we can sometimes have like the Joe Rogan podcast, where you can actually see the conversation take place. Do you think that the visual component adds a lot and it can be essential for certain platforms, or do you think that just the audio in itself could be suffice for most people's content and just being able to share their message? What's your thoughts on the audio versus the visual too?
I think that's good to have both, because Joe Rogan does have both. You can't just listen to the video, because for some, you're just on YouTube and you're like, oh, I'm popped up on this, and it's cool, and I'm able to see the people interact, instead of just like a blank screen when you're just been watching a bunch of videos. So I think it's just providing different avenues, and like whatever your consumer wants more, they can choose that thing.
Definitely. I think that's a great point. Because once if you do the video, then you can just always use the audio. It's like bringing it down. So going back to social media, what have you found to be the most effective way for the Genius Band to grow their social media? Your following. Has it been the organic post? Has it been the affiliate ambassador post? Advertising? Is it obviously, I'm sure, a culmination of all of them to some degree? But what has there been one that stood out in regards to where a majority of your following is actually coming from?
Yeah, I think that that's something that we're definitely working on, is growing that area, because it really can, or people have built their whole brands around having a great social media platform, whatever it is, promoting their product or building their brand in that way. And I think that's something that we're working towards, continue to build. So but the things that have worked for us is definitely like partnering with other companies, and like, so then you're getting in companies that make sense with your brand,
Absolutely.
And so you guys do a post together, and perhaps a giveaway of your product, and just so a lot of people, just that brand recognition immediately. And potentially, in those posts, you're like, okay, you got to follow both and work from there. To win a prize, whatever the prize may be. I think that has definitely helped us get a lot of people, and in different variations of that, and has helped us a lot. And I think having great content is really the main thing. And if you could have cool people in those videos or pictures or whatever it is, but like nice, high quality pictures and cool videos, I think the more, maybe not all videos, but I think those are definitely attractive when you can put out high quality videos that are whatever, promoting or just featuring you in some way. I think is definitely good. So the more great content you can have, I think will be better for you, because then maybe they're they just like your page. You know, you're getting people to come just because they like your page rather than they have to be a fan of whatever your service or product that you're producing.
Absolutely.
Like having something that's, you know, of value regardless, and then through that avenue trying to get them to like what you actually do.
Absolutely. And it seems like, you know, those collaborations can be a form of validation in a lot of ways because, you know, sometimes, you know, humans can be naturally skeptic. And so you may see a cool profile and, you know, recognize its value, but hearing somebody else say that it's cool, that you also respect, it gives you that much more of an incentive to want to, you know, really maybe follow that brand and really see what's going on because someone else that, you know, opinion you value, you know, has something to kind of affirm in that decision. And so have you found that validation from those collaborations being kind of, you know, an element, or do you think that if the content is good and if people, you know, get to the page that, you know, they'll follow and they'll engage just based on that? Or do you feel like having some secondary, you know, voice is helpful?
I think it's both. I think that definitely that validation and someone who already is into things that are like yours coming, you have a better chance at potentially hooking that person into, if it's like a funnel, you know what I'm saying? But I think that the easiest way to do that is having a great landing space for them. You know, they come and they're like, wow, you know, this is cool or whatever it is.
Definitely. So speaking of, you know, people being into that such, how do you, so, you know, going into advertising now, if you want to target, you know, potential, you know, users who are into health, fitness, supplements and such, how do you go about targeting those who are going to be most interested in what your brand offers and what your brand does?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And a question that we want to continue to learn more and more about. I think that the ambassadors do help by advertising to people, and then those people who come to you, and then understanding the people who come to you and what they like and other things that they buy and other things that they do for fun or participate in. And then you can maybe target those spaces and things and products to draw them in, those other types of people who obviously could be just like the person who already is in.
Absolutely.
And your ambassadors talking to those other people, but almost piggybacking off of and knowing your consumer, using that information to your advantage.
Gotcha. Okay. And so have you found, you know, in like running advertisements and such, have you found, you know, how do you choose what content you're going to choose to run and add with you, you know, like select from the posts that you've already shared and seeing which one, you know, maybe has gotten the most likes, say, hey, we're going to use this and boost this as an ad, or is the content that you're using for advertisements its own original content that's specifically for a campaign and it's not, you know, essentially recycling content that you've already distributed?
Yeah, I think it depends. Yeah, I think it depends on the strategy there. I think it can be, there's some recycling for sure when it just comes to you want to keep people engaged perhaps. Then, you know, just making sure you put something out that's good still. But I think that for some of I think there's a lot of experimentation in it as well. You know, you try things out and sometimes it's surprising what works best.
Interesting.
Really. And so you do get specific in your tests.
Have you seen anything particularly that surprised you from, you know, like, you know, from what you assume from what happened without giving too much, you know, extra confidential detail, but any general aspects that were surprising?
I think that I remember one that I talked to. It was or he was like, you know, it was crazy. One of the early ads did really well and had like an American flag on it, and it seemed like just, you know, just that idea of like really one of the better ads that were done, and you know, didn't think it would make that big of a difference. Where
was it the patriotic theme?
I think right, just that patriotic thing, and Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to explain what reason that could be.
And then as far as like, do you target, so with, you guys sell nationwide, correct?
Yes.
Throughout the United
Yeah,
States.
yes.
And so how do you go about targeting region wise? Are you choosing, just, do you have any restrictions as to what areas you're going to target, through the marketing, or, since you're going for the country, is it dispersed, among all the states, or do you not target by region very much?
Yeah, we don't target by region very much because
There's not much reason to.
yeah, we sell, like we do a lot on Amazon and everyone can get on Amazon.
Gotcha.
We do make sure it's within the United States just because of shipping restrictions, but that's the only really limitation I think there in terms of the targeting. We just want to, yeah.
Absolutely. And so, is there a usual duration that you would advise, like as far as running a particular ad, and like how do you know when to pull an ad out and say, hey, it's not working? Like because sometimes you got to give things time and let it grow. And so, how do you make the call on timing for advertising?
I think yeah, if it starts to dwindle, because you do a lot of Facebook stuff, and a lot of Facebook metrics will show you how an ad's doing and throughout time, and you can kind of see there. And as the ad dwindles, either finding a way to refresh it or taking it down or doing something different there, I think is the but I think we let things run their course for the most part.
Gotcha.
Like, I don't think we'll pull something out while hot type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as refreshing, like what is it? Putting more capital investment in? Is it changing the content? Is it like how do you refresh an already existing advertisement to where it can potentially start to accumulate fresh results again?
Yeah, I think both of those is either more spend on an ad, like this can work. It just needs be able to see more people.
Gotcha.
Or different content, or maybe targeting different users, or something to reinvigorate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And how important is a call to action feature for an advertisement? I'm sure with you guys being in the supplement space, you're having promo codes, and there's something when they see the ad. I'm sure there's something that you want them to do.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
Absolutely.
Is your call to action is usually the same, or do you guys play around with that a lot? I mean, how does that look?
I think that we almost always do a call to action, and I think it is big. I feel like one thing that makes companies, brands successful is having big customer lists, and to get somebody engaged and try to get them subscribed or get them involved with your brand in some sense will help you out so much when you're trying to do some sort of promotion, or you're doing something where having a large portion of people see it at the same time can help other things that will really help you out in terms of search relevancy, and which will help your velocity and your whatever you're doing at that time. So I think that having call to action and getting them into your brand or getting them connected with you personally is important.
Do you guys use email newsletters and the
Yeah, we do it, and maybe not a ton, but we definitely do. And I think there's a lot of people, and with good reason, that's like email is dead, but I think that there's still a little bit of value in that for sure. And
Absolutely.
having some sort of, and it's better if you have a big list, but if you're offering something good, or you have a well worded, or if you do it, I think that I don't think it's dead yet.
Yeah. So let's say hypothetical situation. Let's say you're trying to sell as many of like the vegan protein powder, which I love personally. I'm actually a fan of the Yuse brand products myself.
Nice.
So let's say you were trying to really sell as many as you could of one product, and you had to choose between having 10,000 followers or 10,000 contacts for your email list. What do you think would just as a random guess or like hypothesis, what do you think you could more successfully get sales from? And 10,000 email subscribers or 10,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook?
That's a good question. In that sense, I probably would go with social media. I think, I don't think email's dead, but it's definitely not better than the socials. 2.5 billion, I believe, is the number getting on Facebook every single day, and then there's a ton on Instagram. There's a ton on. So I think that I'd definitely rather be popular on social media than have a zillion emails. But I think in conjunction, they can be very good together. Just for if you post something on social and then a bunch of people like it and then more people see it, versus if you send out a bunch of emails. I don't think a ton of people forward emails or you know what I'm saying, like, oh, this is a great deal that I found, or
That's
it's just
point.
easier to get connected to a bunch of people in that
Makes,
form. So
makes a lot of sense. Makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. So I know you guys have, you guys run multiple ads at the same time
Yeah.
and such. What's the benefit to doing that? Is that just for the sake of, getting the more eyes, or is it to kind of do a comparison, A/B testing of seeing which one works and then bringing the other one down? What's the benefit to running multiple ads at the same time?
I think that we do a lot of different things is one of it, and one person being very good at one type versus another, like, and using our skill sets best in that sense. We do some like testing in between, like, you're trying out different ads and things, but I think for the for the most part that we do a lot of, it's based on what I'm good at versus what he's good at, or what he's focusing on versus what I'm focusing on.
Absolutely. And so, on these social media platforms, we have Facebook, Instagram, which are obviously the same company now.
Yeah.
But have you seen any differences in the type of engagement that you get from these two platforms under the same umbrella? Have you found it to be a higher quality attention on one platform, one side over the other? Like, what's your thoughts between Facebook and Instagram as far as marketing is concerned?
I think that, well, when we post, if we're directly posting, I think a lot of times we'll focus on Instagram just because with the pictures and it does. I think I guess we maybe slightly more focus on Instagram when it comes to individually direct posting. We'll still post on our Facebook page, but I think that our Instagram, maybe we are a little bit more focused there.
Gotcha.
But when it comes to advertising, because it's the same company, we do a lot of automatic placement. So we're not, or in my opinion, I'm not trying to outsmart Facebook. I think they do a good enough job on seeing where people are looking. And so I'm not going to tell them to only do stories or only do Instagram or Facebook for us. I think I let them do their thing in that regard.
So can you elaborate on auto placement for those that don't know what auto placement is? What's that look like?
Right. So automatic placement, Facebook has Instagram, they have WhatsApp, they have Facebook and Facebook stories and Instagram stories. And so instead of me selecting the places for them to put the ads, they just doing automatically and letting them place it where they think it will be successful, and they do a good job and successful where they put the things. So
very interesting. And so what do you think, this social media sector is still relatively new, even though it doesn't feel like it, right?
Yeah.
We've been maybe 15 years into this like kind of new age social media, and I think it's gone through its own stages even in that time period.
For sure.
Where do you think, and this kind of, obviously it's a hypothesis and a theory for us all, but where do you think this is going? Where do you think social media marketing is going? What have you seen in the last few years, and how it's changed up until this point, and if you had to make your best assumption of where it's going, what would you say?
I think that it's going to continue to grow. I think it's hard to be a company, a brand, and not participate in social media. And I think that's only going to continue to be the case, just based on how much we enjoy it now and how much we use it now. I don't see it really stopping anytime soon. I think that more and more companies and places will focus more heavily on social media piece because it is such a valuable tool. And there's really a lot of companies who only do social media and have built big companies by doing it. And I think the more those stories get shared, and I think it's becoming more and more of a trend, definitely. More and more people are getting into it, but the Gym Sharks of the world and these companies that are like, I really have never seen an advertisement, but see them a ton on social media, and they're doing very well based on these strategies. And they you have to be good at it for sure, but
Absolutely.
I think that's going to continue to grow.
So with you guys being, you guys are a lifestyle brand, but still it's a commercial business,
Yeah.
right? It's not like a person, personal brand, YouTuber and such.
Yeah.
Do you think it's more difficult for a personal brand to grow a following or a commercial business to grow a following? And the reason why I ask is because I'm fascinated sometimes where I see these major corporations like these, the Verizons and Sprints and the Coca-Colas, and sometimes they have a lot less followers than a single person who does makeup or
Right.
does a YouTuber and such. I mean, individuals, sometimes have massive followings that are since surpassing some of the biggest corporations. Do you think it's more difficult for a company or for a person to build a following?
I think it's probably more difficult for a person, but there's a cap. There's less of a cap for a person. If it's a person, a lot more people are willing to check them out. If they're, what I'm saying? If they're cool, they do cool stuff, you have a bigger net potentially, but a company, it's still Coca-Cola, and so like it's very hard to engage somebody who doesn't drink soda and follow your brand. But I think as a person, there's a lot of different types of people that you can reach. The only reason I say it's more difficult is because a lot of people are doing it now, and a lot of people want to be influencers and build their brand per se. And so I think that it is starting to become a little bit of a crowded space, and so to stand out from the crowd, I think, is probably a little bit harder.
Yeah. So, you mentioned influencers, and, for those who aren't familiar with what an influencer is, how would you describe this newfound social media professional?
Right,
How
it's
would you
a
describe an
term that's
influencer?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I would describe an influencer as someone who has a very big following and can use that following to influence them to do something, maybe not that benefits them, but it often benefits them in some way. Whether that is selling a product or that is watching a lot of their videos, or maybe just sharing their brand, and telling other people to check them out because X, Y, and Z. So I'd say an influencer is that.
Okay. And so, as far as the influencers go, I find it interesting that it seems that there are some influencers out there with massive followings, 1 million, 2 million followers and such, who have a difficult time monetizing their platform, whether because they don't have a business model in place and just don't, kind of know what to do with the attention. From what you've seen, working with the company in marketing and maybe even working with influencers yourself, how would you advise influencers to monetize their platform? Do you think, associating what product is the best, the best lane, or is, going the service route? Is it really dependent? Like, what would you advise if you were talking to an influencer on how to make the most of their platform?
Come to the Genius brand. If you know a 1 to 2 million person who is not monetizing well, we'd love to have them. I think that there's a lot of companies out there, and so I think you can reach out to people directly, and that isn't like a weakness. If you reach out, I think you can still have a very favorable relationship as an individual, if you would like to start monetizing. Because I don't think you have to. You don't have to post 9 times a week for a company to want to be or think it was valuable for you. I think that there's subtle things that you can do, or even say that will allow them to make money off this huge following that they had. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd say reach out to things that you like and go from there.
Absolutely. So, kind of going into a specific question in regards to to what my agency does. Certain individuals, recognize the value of social media marketing, but may not have the time or even the energy to actually engage on Instagram themselves personally. So they usually hire, an agency to do this for themselves. What do you think are some of the benefits of being a part of social media, but not necessarily not being engaged personally, having that sense of detachment while still utilizing the platform and tools? Do you see any benefit in that, and having a personal distance from social media, but still utilizing it for your brand and for your business, or do you feel like in order to get the most out of it, you have to be in the mix and there personally and they're engaging with your following in order for it to work?
For sure. I think that if you really love social media, then that'd be great. Like if you really love and you want to be on your phone all day and you want to talk to people all day, then that's awesome. But I think that that's not that many people, and that there's a big value in being able to have someone who does enjoy it and does understand it and can take that away from you, because there is definitely negatives to using social media all the time, and for you to not have to experience some of those negatives and get the positive out of it with the just amazing marketing potential with social media, I think is very, very valuable, especially if you can get somebody knowledgeable.
And can you tap on like what you've seen, like what you think some of the negatives might be for those who don't know and such? I mean, because this is a more prevalent conversation people are having, the psychological implications of excessive social media usage. What have you seen to be some of the downsides to the overindulgence in these platforms?
Yeah, I think that self-confidence can definitely wane when using it a lot, because it becomes a comparative platform. When you're checking all that different people, and these pictures are curated to make them look their best selves, as they should, and maybe you start to think that you should always, so time to go.
Okay. One last question. So if you were to, because right now you're working with a commercial brand, I know you're doing fantastic work and bringing results there. Let's say you were to go and start to explore your own personal brand, right? You have experience in basketball and now you have experience in marketing. So let's say you're going to be a marketing consultant or a basketball trainer. What would you do? How would you start to approach marketing your personal brand if you were starting from zero and just wanted to start getting some traction? What would be some of the first steps to starting to get out in that big world and see what's going on?
Right. I think I would definitely work on first, like making sure I have great things, like if it's a great portfolio, or I'm training kids and making sure that those training sessions are amazing, focusing on what you do first and foremost. And then as you do that, I think that you get a lot of testimonials from the people that you've worked with, and I think you get a lot of maybe Facebook reviews or whatever it is. So everything that's out there on the webs is positive and showing some of the great things that you do. I think that I would make sure as well to get a lot of great content. And so as you start to build there, and then you put out really cool stuff for people to come check you out, and then they check you out and see you do really good things, and then potentially have a new follower or whatever you're looking for in that sense. So
absolutely. Okay, this is the actual last question, last simple one. What does marketing mean to you?
Marketing means to me spreading positive messages. Marketing means to me bringing in value to your company.
All right, excellent. Well, Anye Turner, thank you very much for
Appreciate
being
it.
part of the Yuse Mercari show, episode 2. Folks, there you have it. It's a lot of good insight here, a lot of just great perspective on this industry, which we're trying to continually explore. So we really appreciate you giving us your time and sharing your insight, and hope that it brings some value. As you said, hope this marketing brings value to the lives of others who see it.
Absolutely.
So
Appreciate it and wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you.